Chapter 20 of Book 2 of Prior Analytics by Aristotle, translated by Octavius OWEN. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Geoffrey Edwards. Chapter 20 of the Elenchus. Since, however, we have when, and from what manner of terminal subsistence syllogism is produced, it is also clear when there will and will not be an elenchus. For all things being granted, or the answers being arranged alternately, for instance, the one being negative and the other affirmative, an elenchus may be produced, since there was a syllogism when the terms were as well in this as in that way, so that if what is laid down should be contrary to the conclusion, it is necessary that an elenchus should be produced, for an elenchus is a syllogism of contradiction. If, however, nothing is granted, it is impossible that there should be an elenchus, for there was not a syllogism when all the terms are negative, so that there will neither be an elenchus, for if there is an elenchus, it is necessary there should be a syllogism, but if there is a syllogism, it is not necessary there should be an elenchus. Likewise, if nothing should be universally laid down in the answer, for the determination of the elenchus and of the syllogism will be the same. Chapter 21 of Deception as to Supposition. Sometimes it happens that as we are deceived in the position of the terms, so also deception arises as to opinion. For example, if the same thing happens to be present with many things primary, and a person should be ignorant of one, and think that it is present with nothing, but should know the other, for let A be present with B, and with C, per se, that is, essentially, and let these in like manner be with every D. If then somebody thinks that A is with every B, and this with every D, but A with no C, and this with every D, he will have knowledge and ignorance of the same thing, as to the same. Again, if one should be deceived about those things which are from the same class, as if A is with B, but this with C, and C with D, and should apprehend A to be with every B, and again with no C, he will at the same time both know and not apprehend its presence. Will he then admit nothing else from these things than that he does not form an opinion on what he knows? For in some way he knows that A is with C through B, just as the particular is known in the universal, so that what he somehow knows, he admits he does not conceive at all, which is impossible. In what, however, we mentioned before, if the middle is not of the same class, it is impossible to conceive both propositions according to each of the media, as if A were with every B, but with no C, and both these with every D. For it happens that the major proposition assumes a contrary, either simply or partially. For if with everything with which B is present, a person thinks A is present, but knows that B is with D, he also will know that A is with D. Hence, if again he thinks that A is with nothing with which C is, he will not think that A is with anything with which B is, but that he who thinks that it is with everything with which B is, should again think that it is not with something with which B is either simply or partially contrary. Thus, however, it is impossible to think, still nothing prevents our assuming one proposition according to each middle, or both according to one, as that A is with every B, and B with D, and again A with no C. For a deception of this kind resembles that by which we are deceived about particulars, as if A is with every B, but B with every C, A will be with every C. If then a man knows that A is with everything with which B is, he knows also that it is with C. Still, nothing prevents his being ignorant of the existence of C, as if A were two right angles, B a triangle, and C a perceptible triangle. Example 1. Every triangle has angles equal to two right angles, bracket, known, close bracket. This is a triangle, bracket, unknown, close bracket. Therefore, this has angles equal to two right angles, known by universal / unknown by particular knowledge. For a man may think that C does not exist, knowing that every triangle has two equal to right angles, hence he will know and be ignorant of the same thing at once. For to know that every triangle has angles equal to two right is not a simple thing, but in one respect arises from possessing universal science, in another particular science. Thus therefore he knows by universal science that C has angles equal to two right angles, but by particular science he does not know it, so that he will not hold contraries. In like manner is the reasoning in the Meno, that discipline is reminiscence, for it never happens that we have a pre-existent knowledge of particulars, but together with induction receive the science of particulars as it were by recognition. Since some things we immediately know, as that there are angles equal to two right angles, if we know that what we see is a triangle, and in like manner as to other things. By universal knowledge then we observe particulars, but we do not know them by an innate peculiar knowledge, hence we may be deceived about them, yet not after a contrary manner, but while possessing the universal, yet are deceived in the particular. It is the same also as to what we have spoken of, for the deception about the middle is not contrary to science about syllogism, nor the opinion as to each of the middles, still nothing prevents one who knows that A is with the whole of B, and this again with C, thinking that A is not with C, as he who knows that every mule is barren, and that this animal is a mule, may think that this is pregnant, for he does not know that A is with C, from not at the same time surveying each. Hence it is evident that if he knows one of the propositions, but is ignorant of the other, he will be deceived as to how the universal subsists with reference to the particular sciences. For we know nothing of those things which fall under the senses as existent apart from sense, not even if we happen to have perceived it before, unless in so far as we possess universal and peculiar knowledge, and not in that we energize. For to know is predicated triply, either as to the universal, or to the peculiar knowledge, or as to energizing, so that to be deceived is likewise in as many ways. Nothing therefore prevents a man both knowing and being deceived about the same thing, but not in a contrary manner. And this happens also to him, who knows each proposition, yet has not considered before. For thinking that a mule is pregnant, he has not knowledge in energy, nor again on account of opinion has he deception contrary to knowledge, since deception contrary to universal knowledge is syllogism. Notwithstanding, whoever thinks that the very being of good is the very being of evil, will apprehend that there is the same essence of good and of evil. For let the essence of good be A, and the essence of evil B, and again let the essence of good be C. Since then he thinks that B and C are the same, he will also think that C is B, and again in a similar manner that B is A, wherefore that C is A. Example 2. He thinks the essence of evil is the essence of good. He thinks the essence of good is the essence of evil. Therefore, he thinks the essence of good is the essence of good. For just as if it were true that of what C is predicated, B is, and of what B is, A is, it was also true that A is predicated of C. So too in the case of the verb, to opine, in like manner as regards the verb, to be, for C and B being the same, and again B and A, C also is the same as A. Likewise, as regards to opine, is then this necessary, if any one should grant the first? But perhaps that is false, that any one should think that the essence of good is the essence of evil, unless accidentally, for we may opine this in many ways, but we must consider it better. Chapter 22. On the conversion of the extremes in the first figure. When the extremes are converted, the middle must necessarily be converted with both. For if A is present with C through B, if it is converted, and C is with whatever A is, B also is converted with A, and with whatever A is present. B also is through the middle C, and C is converted with B through the middle A. The same will occur with negatives, as if B is with C, but A is not with B, neither will A be with C. If then B is converted with A, C also will be converted with A. For let B not be with A, neither then will C be with A, since B was with every C. And if C is converted with B, the latter is also converted with A. For of whatever B is predicated, C also is, and if C is converted with A, B also is converted with A. For with whatever B is present, C also is, but C is not present with what A is. This also alone begins from the conclusion, but the others not similarly, as in the case of an affirmative syllogism. Again, if A and B are converted, and C and D likewise, but A or C must necessarily be present with every individual, B and D also will so subsist, as that one of them will be present with every individual. For since B is present with whatever A is, and D with whatever C is, but A or C with every individual, and not both at the same time, it is evident that B or D is with every individual, and not both of them at the same time, for two syllogisms are conjoined. Again, if A or B is with every individual, and C or D, but they are not present at the same time, if A and C are converted, B also and D are converted, since if B is not present with a certain thing with which D is, it is evident that A is present with it. But if A is, C also will be, for they are converted so that C and D will be present at the same time, but this is impossible. As if what is unbegotten is incorruptible, and what is incorruptible unbegotten, it is necessary that what is begotten should be corruptible, and the corruptible begotten. But when A is present with the whole of B and C, and is predicated of nothing else, and B also is with every C, it is necessary that A and B should be converted, as since A is predicated of B, C alone, but B itself is predicated both of itself and of C, it is evident that of those things of which A is predicated, of all these B will also be predicated, except of A itself. Again, when A and B are with the whole of C, and C is converted with B, it is necessary that A should be with every B, for since A is with every C, but C with B, in consequence of reciprocity, A will also be with every B. But when of two opposites, A is preferable to B, and D to C likewise, if A, C are more eligible than B, D, A is preferable to D. In like manner, A should be followed and B avoided, since they are opposites, and C is to be similarly avoided, and D to be pursued, for these are opposed. If then A is similarly eligible with D, B also is similarly to be avoided with C, each opposite to each. In like manner, what is to be avoided to what is to be pursued. Hence both are similar, A, C, with B, D, but because the one are more eligible than the other, they cannot be similarly eligible, for else B, D would be similarly eligible with A, C. If, however, D is preferable to A, B also is less to be avoided than C, for the less is opposed to the less, and the greater good and the less evil are preferable to the less good and the greater evil, wherefore the whole B D is preferable to A C. Now, however, this is not the case, hence A is preferable to D, consequently C is less to be avoided than B. If then every lover according to love chooses A, that is to be in such a condition as to be gratified, and C not to be gratified, rather than be gratified, which is D, and yet not be in a condition to be gratified, which is B, it is evident that A, i.e. to be in a condition to be gratified, is preferable to being gratified. To be loved then is preferable according to love to intercourse, wherefore love is rather the cause of affection than of intercourse, but if it is especially the cause of this, this also is the end, wherefore intercourse either, in short, is not, or is for the sake of affection, since the other desires and arts are thus produced. How therefore terms subsist as to conversion, also in their being more eligible or more to be avoided, has been shown. Chapter 23 of Induction. We must now show that not only dialectic and demonstrative syllogisms are produced through the above named figures, but that rhetorical are also, and in short, every kind of demonstration, and by every method. For we believe all things either through syllogism or from induction. Induction, then, and the inductive syllogism is to prove one extreme in the middle through the other, as if B is the middle of A, C, and we show through C that A is with B, for thus we make inductions. Thus let A be long-lived, B void of bile, C everything long-lived, as man, horse, mule. A then is present with the whole of C, for everything void of bile is long-lived, but B also, or that which is void of bile, is present with every C. If then C is converted with B, and does not exceed the middle, it is necessary that A should be with B, for it has been before shown that when any two things are present with the same thing, and the extreme is convertible with one of them, that the other predicate will also be present with that which is converted. We must, however, consider C as composed of all singulars, for induction is produced through all. Example 1. Every man, horse, mule is long-lived. Whatever is void of bile is man, horse, mule. Therefore, whatever is void of bile is long-lived. A syllogism of this kind, however, is of the first and immediate proposition, for of those which have a middle, the syllogism is through the middle, but of those where there is not a middle, it is by induction. In some way also induction is opposed to syllogism, for the latter demonstrates the extreme of the third through the middle, but the former the extreme of the middle through the third. To nature therefore the syllogism produced through the middle is prior or more known, but to us that by induction is more evident. Chapter 24. Of Example. Example is when the extreme is shown to be present with the middle through something similar to the third, but it is necessary to know that the middle is with the third, and the first with what is similar. For example, let A be bad, B to make war upon neighbours, C the Athenians against the Thebans, D the Thebans against the Phocians. If then we wish to show that it is bad to war against the Thebans, we must assume that it is bad to war against neighbours, but the demonstration of this is from similars, as that the war by the Thebans against the Phocians was bad. Since then war against neighbours is bad, but that against the Thebans is against neighbours, it is evidently bad to war against the Thebans, so that it is evident that B is with C, and with D, since both are to war against neighbours, and that A is with D, for the war against the Phocians was not advantageous to the Thebans, but that A is with B will be shown through D. In the same manner also, if the demonstration of the middle as to the extreme should be through many similars, wherefore it is evident that example is neither as part to a whole, nor as whole to a part, but as part to part, when both are under the same thing, but one is known. It (example) also differs from induction, because the latter shows from all individuals that the extreme is present with the middle, and does not join the syllogism to the extreme, but the former both joins it and does not demonstrate from all individuals. End of chapter 24 of book 2. Recording in memory of Mitchell Edwards. Chapter 25 of book 2 of Prior Analytics by Aristotle, translated by Octavius OWEN. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Geoffrey Edwards. Chapter 25 of Abduction. Abduction is when it is evident the first is present with the middle, but it is not evident that the middle is with the last, though it is similarly credible, or more so than the conclusion. Moreover, if the media of the last and of the middle be few, for it by all means happens that we shall be nearer to knowledge. For instance, let A be what may be taught, B science, C justice. That science then may be taught is clear, but not whether justice is science. If therefore B, C is equally or more credible than A, C, it is abduction, for we are nearer knowledge because of our assuming A, C, not possessing science before. Example 1. Every science may be taught, known. All justice is science, equally or more credible than the conclusion, Therefore, all justice may be taught, unknown. Or again, if the media of B, C should be few, For thus we are nearer knowledge, as if D should be to be squared, E a rectilinear figure, and F a circle, then if of E F there is only one middle, for a circle to become equal to a rectilinear figure through lunula will be a thing near to knowledge. Example 2. Every rectilinear figure may be squared, brackets, known. Every circle may become a rectilinear figure, bracket, proved through one middle, i.e. per unulas, close bracket. Every circle may be squared, bracket, this is proved through many media, close bracket. But when neither B, C is more credible than A, C, nor the media fewer, I do not call this abduction, nor when B, C is immediate, for such a thing is knowledge. Chapter 26. Of Objection. Objection is a proposition contrary to a proposition. It differs, however, from a proposition because objection may be partial, but proposition cannot be so at all, or not in universal syllogisms. Objection indeed is advanced in two ways, and by two figures. In two ways, because every objection is either universal or particular, and by two figures, because they are used opposite to the proposition, and opposites are concluded in the first and third figure alone. When then a person requires it to be admitted that anything is present with every individual, we object either that it is with none, or that it is not with a certain one, and of these the being present with none is shown by the first figure, but that it is not with a certain one by the last. For instance, let A be, there is one science, and B contraries, When therefore a person advances that there is one science of contraries, it is objected either that there is not the same science of opposites altogether, but contraries are opposites, so that there is the first figure. Example 1. Proposition: there is one science of contraries. Objection: there is not one science of opposites. Contraries are opposites. Therefore, there is not one science of contraries. Or that there is not one science of the known and of the unknown, and this is the third figure. For of C, that is, of the known, and of the unknown, it is true that they are contraries, but that there is one science of them is false. Example 2. Proposition: there is one science of contraries. Objection: there is not one science of the known and of the unknown. The known and the unknown are contraries. There is not one science of contraries. Again, in like manner, in a negative proposition, for if any one asserts that there is not one science of contraries, we say either that there is the same science of all opposites, or that there is of certain contraries, as of the salubrious and of the noxious. That there is therefore one science of all things is by the first figure, but that there is of certain by the third. In short, in all disputations it is necessary that he who universally objects should apply a contradiction of the propositions to the universal. Example 3. Proposition: therefore, there is not one science of contraries. Objection: there is one science of opposites. Contraries are opposites. Therefore, there is one science of contraries. Proposition the same. Objection. There is one science of the salubrious and noxious. The salubrious and noxious are contraries. Therefore, there is one science of certain contraries. As if someone should assert that there is not the same science of all contraries, the objector should say that there is one of opposites. For thus it is necessary that there should be the first figure, since the middle becomes an universal to that which was proposed at first. But he who objects in part must contradict that which is universal, of which the proposition is stated, as that there is not the same science of the known and the unknown, for the contraries are universal with reference to these. The third figure is also produced, for what is particularly assumed is the middle, for instance, the known and the unknown, as from what we may infer a contrary syllogistically, from the same we endeavour to urge objections. Wherefore, we adduce then objections from these figures only, for in these alone opposite syllogisms are constructed, since we cannot conclude affirmatively through the middle figure. Moreover, even if it were possible, yet the objection in the middle figure would require more extensive discussion, as if anyone should not admit A to be present with B, because C is not consequent to it. For this is manifest through other propositions. The objection, however, must not be diverted to other things, but should forthwith have the other proposition apparent, wherefore also from this figure alone there is not a sign. We must consider also other objections, as those adduced from the contrary, from the similar, and from what is according to opinion. Also, whether it is possible to assume a particular objection from the first, or a negative from the middle figure. Chapter 27. Of likelihood, sign, and enthymeme. Likelihood and sign, however, are not the same, but the likely is a probable proposition for what men know to have generally happened or not, or to be or not to be. This is a likelihood, for instance, that the envious hate, or that lovers love. But a sign seems to be a demonstrative proposition, necessary or probable, for that which, when it exists, a thing is, or which, when it has happened, before or after a thing has happened, this is a sign of a thing happening, or being. Now, an enthymeme is a syllogism from likelihoods, or signs, but a sign is assumed triply, in as many ways as the middle in the figures, for it is either as in the first, or as in the middle, or as in the third, as to show that a woman is pregnant because she has milk is from the first figure, for the middle is to have milk. Let A be to be pregnant, B to have milk, C a woman. Example 1. Whatever woman has milk is pregnant. This woman has milk. Therefore, this woman is pregnant. But that wise men are worthy, for Pittacus is a worthy man, is through the last figure. Let A be worthy, B wise men, C Pittacus. It is true then A and B are predicated of C, except that they do not assert the one because they know it, but the other they assume. Example 2. Pittacus is a worthy man. Pittacus is a wise man. Therefore, wise are worthy men. But that a woman is pregnant because she is pale, would be through the middle figure, for since paleness is a consequence of pregnancy, and also attends this woman, they fancy it proved that she is pregnant. Let A be paleness, to be pregnant B, a woman C. Example 3. Whatever woman is pregnant is pale. This woman is pale, therefore this woman is pregnant. If then one proposition should be enunciated, there is only a sign, but if the other also be assumed, there is a syllogism, as for instance, that Pittacus is liberal, for the ambitious are liberal, and Pittacus is ambitious, or again, that the wise are good, for Pittacus is good and also wise. Thus therefore syllogisms are produced, except indeed that the one in the first figure is incontrovertible if it be true, for it is universal, but that through the last is controvertible, though the conclusion should be true, because the syllogism is not universal, nor to the purpose, for if Pittacus is worthy, it is not necessary that on this account other wise men also should be worthy. But that which is by the middle figure is always and altogether controvertible, for there is never a syllogism when the terms thus subsist, for it is not necessary, if she who is pregnant be pale, and this woman be pale, that this woman should be pregnant. What is true therefore will be in all the figures, but they have the above named differences. Either therefore the sign must be thus divided, but of these the middle must be assumed, as the proof positive, for the proof positive, they say, is that which produces knowledge, but the middle is especially a thing of this kind, or we must call those from the extremes signs, but what is from the middle a proof positive, for that is most probable, and for the most part true, which is through the first figure. We may, however, form a judgment of the disposition by the body, if a person grants that whatever passions are natural change at once the body and the soul, since perhaps one who has learned music has changed his soul in some respect, but this passion is not of those which are natural to us, but such as angers and desires which belong to natural emotions. If therefore this should be granted, and one thing should be a sign of one passion, and we are able to lay hold of the peculiar passion and sign of each genus, we shall be able to conjecture from nature. For if a peculiar passion is inherent in a certain individual genus, as fortitude in lions, it is necessary also that there should be a certain sign, for it is supposed that they, the body and soul, sympathize with each other, and let this be the having great extremities, which also is contingent to other, not whole, genera. For the sign is thus peculiar, because the passion is a peculiarity of the whole genus, and is not the peculiarity of it alone, as we are accustomed to say. The same sign then will also be inherent in another genus, and man will be brave, and some other animal, it will then possess that sign. For there was one sign of one passion. If then these things are so, and we can collect such signs in those animals which have one peculiar passion alone, but each passion has its own sign, since it is necessary that it should have one, we may be able to conjecture the nature from the bodily frame. But if the whole genus have two peculiarities, as a lion has fortitude and liberality, how shall we know which of those signs that are peculiarly consequent is the sign, if either passion? Shall we say that we may know this if both are inherent in something else, but not wholly, and in what each is not inherent wholly, when they have the one, they have not the other? For if a lion is brave, but not generous, but has this from two signs, it is evident that in a lion also this is the sign of fortitude. But to form a judgment of the natural disposition by the bodily frame is for this reason in the first figure, because the middle reciprocates with the major term, but exceeds the third, and does not reciprocate with it, as for instance, let fortitude be A, great extremities B, and C a lion, wherefore B is present with every individual, with which C is, but with others also, and A is with every individual of that with which B is present, and with no more, but is converted, for if it were not, there would not be one sign of one passion. Example 4. Whatever has great extremities is brave. Some man has great extremities, therefore some man is brave. End of chapter 27 of book 2, and end of Prior Analytics by Aristotle. Recording in memory of Mitchell Edwards.